Hello, this is the Ancient History Lecture for Tuesday, the 5th of January, 2021. Last time, by the way, those of you who are Stagel and Miss Pepin, you are probably in the worst seats, although you sort of are too, in terms of the video chair blocking your view. So if you want to move, you certainly may do so. Anytime. Just go over here or whatever, and we'll switch your seat. Last time, we were talking about the nature of Unit 1 and Unit 2 and where we were going to go for Unit 3, and I began working on this map. So, you have the map open. You are going to add the Ligurian Sea, the Tyrrhenian Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Adriatic Sea, to this map, which you should also already have the location of the Apennines Mountain, which are the mountain ranges of the Italian boot, the Alps, which are the arc of mountains that are the tallest mountain range in Europa or Europe. Let's see, which is number 2 on the map. The Tiber River, the city of Rome, the plain of Latium, the land of the Etruscans. All were covered last time. We're going to continue with map items. Up here to the north of the Apennines is a great valley named after the river that flows through most of it, called the Po River. It ain't rich. It's the Po River, P-O, the Po River. So this is the Po River, and this is the Po River Valley. And it basically comprises northern Italy. The Po Valley is created by the runoff from the Alps, and it flows into the Adriatic Sea near Venice. Po River Valley. Now, Rome is located, as you know, on a ford. What is a ford? Sorry?
A shallow place where you...
Yeah, it's basically a natural bridge that causes the river to be shallow and widen, and is a place where you can cross on foot without getting swamped or drowned unless there's a flood going on. Rome is also built on 7 what? Right! 7 hills of Rome. Rome starts out as a series of hilltop towns that consolidate and become one city, one Rome. Okay, other cultural regions. Let's go south of Rome. South of Rome, you've got the region of horizontal lines here. This area is heavily colonized by the Greeks. Therefore, this region of southern Italy and eastern Sicily is also known as Magna Graecia. Magna Graecia in Latin is Greater Greece. And to this day, the people of this region have strongly Greek features. There's a famous scene in the story The Godfather, which is a gangster novel and movie from the 1970s. An American mobster, Michael Corleone, is hiding out in Sicily after he had to kill a corrupt police officer. In Sicily, he's traveling around the countryside with 2 bodyguards provided by the local mafia crime boss. They carry shotguns. And one day they're out walking, and he sees this herd of sheep and this group of kids, and the adult woman that's, well, older teenage woman who's with them locks eyes with Michael, and he locks eyes with her. And the two bodyguards look on and they say, "It's the Thunderbolt. It's the Thunderbolt." What it is the look that you get when you fall into love at first sight, or at least lust at first sight, or at least deep fascination at first sight. And when they go to the village to find out who this girl is in the purple dress, they ask the innkeeper, "Who is this girl?" And they have to describe her. They describe her as more Greek than Italian. She looks more Greek than Italian. Well, a lot of people in the Magna Graecia area have so much Greek heritage in their ancestry that they look more Greek than Italian. So Magna Graecia, this area here, remembering that Greece itself, the heart of Greece, is just over here. To the west of Magna Graecia is this vertical lined region, centered on the city of Carthage. Carthage is not Italian. Carthage is Phoenician. The Phoenicians from the Levant, today's Lebanon, from the cities of Sidon and Tyre, the area north of today's Israel, are some of the ancient world's greatest mariners. You may remember that. There are stories of Phoenician sailors traveling to Britain and back with tin in their holds of brass ships. Phoenicians are incredible mariners. Well, the greatest colony of the Phoenicians is right here in North Africa, Carthage, the city of Carthage. And Carthage, by the time that Rome's republic begins to grow, dominates the seas of the Western Mediterranean. Their warships don't have anybody to rival them. In this region, they're stronger than the Greeks at sea, any Greeks. And they also control Western Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia, and the North African coast, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean in Morocco. So that's Carthage, the vertical striped area on your map, Carthage. North of the boot is an area occupied by the Celts. The Celts are the Irish, the Welsh, Scots. Those are all Celtic groups that exist today. So if you have any heritage from Ireland or Scotland or Wales or Brittany and France, you probably have Celtic blood. Celts tend to be not blonde-haired, blue-eyed, cream-skinned. They tend to be red-haired, green-eyed, freckled skin. Those are all Celtic traits. I have some Irish blood, no doubt many of you do. But the Celts who live in these areas are related to the Irish, but obviously they're living in very different parts of Europe. They're called Gauls by the Romans. So the Celts are called Gauls, Gauls. And the Romans see two groups of Gauls, and it's very subjective based on their own geographical perspective. So you got Gauls on this side of the Alps and Gauls on the other side of the Alps. This group of Gauls are called Cisalpine Gauls, CIS Alpine Gauls, Cisalpine Gauls. Gauls on this side of the Alps, CISALPINE Gauls. You may want to write that down. They inhabit the Po River Valley at this early time in Rome's history, Cisalpine Gauls. Across the mountains are the Transalpine Gauls. Transalpine Gauls, TRANSALPINE Gauls. Transalpine Gauls live across the Alps. They live on the other side of the Alps. Now, to the Gauls, there wasn't much difference, but to the Romans, there were. The Gauls across the Alps, the Transalpine Gauls, for the longest time, were not Rome's problem. But the Cisalpine Gauls, every so often, they got riled up and they marched south to Rome. Yes?
They have different walls.
Yep.
And basically, two battle and basically walls around them.
Yeah.
And
I think that was, oh God,
I don't
begins
remember.
with an A. Maybe Bibroct. Yeah, that begins with an A. It's possible. Elysia. It may be that. Yeah.
And it was basically just like start like.
Yeah, they besieged the besieging army. Caesar was brilliant. The conquest of what Caesar called Gaul is the conquest of what in early Roman history would have been called Transalpine Gaul. Now, those of you who are into the sort of woke social justice warrior politics will also be familiar with the terms cis and trans as applied to gender. Our more woke fellow citizens and their desire to push the notion that there are more than two genders call anyone who is male and who looks and acts traditionally like a male cisgender. In other words, they are part of the male gender in every way you can think of. And a woman who dresses and acts in a feminine fashion, she is a cisgendered female. Then the woke social justice warrior types will say there are the trans. And the transgendered people are people who may have male body parts, but they think and act like a woman. They are transgendered females. Or they may have the body parts of a woman, but they think and act like a man. They are transgender males. I could go deeper into this politics, but I have no interest in it. It irritates me, and it's needlessly complex. And if this is your thing, then learn more about it. But the language of cis and trans, cis, the gender that they are, or on this side of the Alps, trans, either they are another gender than they were born as, or they live across the Alps. So, any thoughts, questions, or comments? Okay. So, you're going to need to know all of these things. Let's see if there's anything else on the map that I forgot. I think we're set. Good. Okay. Expect a geography quiz on this at some point, not too far from now. Okay. As we are going to look at Rome, it's good to look ahead and see that there are several eras in the history of the Roman Republic. The first era is when the Ford toll booth city of Rome is the southernmost outpost of the Etruscans. The Etruscans rule Rome as kings. So there's the Etruscan period where Etruscan kings rule over Rome like an Etruscan colony, guarding its southern gate, which is the ford over the Tiber River. That's the first era. We're on the next page. Save your time writing. The second era is the Roman Republic itself, when it's founded, as the various balance of power within it, the various officers that are set up, are established. So the second period is when Rome decides that the people will be king, and there'll be no kings in Rome, and we'll have a Senate, and we'll have a committee of the centuries, and we'll have laws, and we will govern ourselves. And the only people who can take part are veterans. Rome will be ruled by people who put their life on the line for their country. So, the Roman Republic. Now, the Republican era goes all the way through the end of the Civil Wars. But there are other things going on in the next few eras. The third time period of the Roman Republic is the time of civil war. The third time period in the time of the Roman Republic is the time of the Punic Wars. Punic, P-U-N-I-C. And what the Punic Wars are, the Roman word for Phoenician is Punic. And since the Carthaginians were established as a Phoenician colony, the Punic Wars are the wars between Rome and Carthage over the intervening islands, over control of the Mediterranean Sea in the west, and basically over whose cuisine will reign supreme, who will be the power that is ascending, and who will be the power that has been broken. Rome or Carthage, Carthage or Rome. The Punic Wars are the equivalent in Roman Republican history of World War I and World War II. There are three Punic Wars. The third one is sort of an afterthought. But Punic War I and Punic War II, very analogous in some ways to World War I and World War II. Big, earth-shattering wars that do change the course of history. It's ironic that after victory over Carthage, the Romans have they have too much success. It spoils them. It's like a child that's been raised with no discipline to think that just as a child they're the equal of all adults. No, you haven't earned that yet. You're still a pipsqueak. Learn life and earn respect. Don't expect respect to be given to you as a gift just because you're walking and talking. It doesn't work that way. The fall of the Roman Republic is a result of the people of Rome being spoiled by their victory. And they go off the rails. The freedom that they have isn't as precious or pleasant as it used to be, and the stresses on their lives because of that freedom get greater and greater. So they begin to crack under the strain. Finally, the period of civil wars have rich men with private armies fighting each other for control of the Roman world. It's no longer they march under the banner of the Senate and people of Rome, but in fact they are marching for for Marius or Sulla, for Crassus or Pompey or Caesar, for Mark Antony or Octavian. They are marching not for the Senate and people of Rome, but for their general. And their general is going to try to become ruler of Rome. And ultimately, one of them succeeds, and it's the end of the Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire, which itself has 4 distinct time periods. So this is the structure that we're going to have coming up. We've already gone over the geography of Rome. It's on the first forge, 7 hills, and geographical centrality. Now we go to the realm of myth. Who founds Rome? Who establishes it? Well, according to myth, you have a king who has 2 twin sons. The king is gone, overthrown, or dead, and the queen suddenly faces a new king that wants his own line to rule. I think it's Alba. In any event, the queen tries hiding her sons, but in the end, they get thrown into the river. 2 little babies left to die. You'd think that throwing an infant into the river without a basket, like Moses had, would be enough to kill it. But I guess these 2 babies were buoyant. They were buoyant babies. The babies had buoyancy. And they floated enough not to drown, not to die, but to end up on a nearby rocky beach on the shore of the Tiber River. And then something which really should have ended them. I mean, the babies were separated from their mom. They were taken away. They were thrown in the river. Now a she-wolf appears. I don't know if you've ever encountered a wolf in real life. There used to be a place north of here called Wolf People, between here and Sand Point on 95. And what they did is they had wolves, and people could go and see the wolves. It was a bit like a nature preserve and a bit like a zoo, and anyone who wanted to could. In my wife and I, our first year here in Coeur d'Alene, they were still open. We got to meet the wolves on their terms. We even got to touch the wolves. The wolf, a she-wolf, permitted me to touch her and be near her cubs, which was an amazing thing. And we got to hear all the wolves howl. They were shut down by people who thought that it was wrong to allow wolves to be encountered by people and allow people to encounter wolves. They thought somehow that wolves, being wild animals, shouldn't be put on display like that. And they were closed down. So because they've been closed down, maybe you've never had a chance to see a wolf up close. They're not dogs. If you are ever in the presence of a wolf, you'll know it. The hackles on the flesh on the back of your neck will rise. You will become aware of everything because the instinctive reaction of a human being to a wolf is watch out. There's danger here. And it's not just, one-on-one, wolf versus man. It's wolves don't fight fair. They hunt packs. There's a fierceness about wolves that's completely undog-like. Dogs, at a basic level, are bred to be loyal. One of the nicest, simple prayers I've ever heard in my life is, "Dear Lord, help me to be the kind of man that my dog thinks that I am." Wolves aren't like that. They have no interest in pleasing us. They will not take guff from us. Uh, those Native Americans who work with wolves as part of their shows, they have a dispensation from well-meaning, meddlesome people who want to get wolves away from people because they're Native American tribes and there are traditions that go back before the United States. But whenever you see one of these shows, the people who are working with the wolves are very, very definite about one thing. They never have their eyes above the level of the dominant wolf. The alpha male and the alpha female always have their head in a higher position than the humans. Because the only way that wolves will accept humans is on their terms, as a member or an associate of their pack. I'm trying to explain danger to you. It's like the difference between meeting a soldier and meeting a violent criminal. Both are good at violence, but one is safe and controlled and he's a sheepdog, and one will just as soon carve their initials into your flesh as look at you. And most people have a basic sense of danger that's there to keep them safe. So a she-wolf shows up and is sniffing at and looking at these infants, these human boy babies, these twins. They should have been gone. But there are occasions, this sort of thing has happened. It's not simply in the Jungle Book. It's not simply in the story of Romulus and Remus. There are times when animals will take an abandoned human child in. The she-wolf, instead of killing the boys and feeding their meat to her pups, brings the boys into her den. There are the famous statues of the she-wolf with distended teats and the two human boy babies suckling at the wolf's teats to survive. And no doubt that happened. The wolf saves Romulus and Remus. Because the wolf saves them, they're able to grow up, encounter a local farmer, and become adults. Most societies north of the tropics have werewolf legends. Werewolf legends, if you don't know what a werewolf is, where have you been hiding your entire life? It's a basic cultural thing. But a werewolf is a human being cursed to transform into a wolf, either under the full moon or in some other bad circumstance. And the werewolf is a danger. It's a curse. Most werewolves in these stories are miserable people who regret the death they cause, regret the harm they do, and they try to find ways of getting locked up if the full moon is what triggers them during the 3 nights of the full moon. Yep, there are 3 nights of the full moon. You didn't know that. In order to avoid causing anyone harm. By taking in the milk of the she-wolf, by surviving as as members of her pack, Romulus and Remus take on wolfish characteristics. These wolfish characteristics are going to make Romans, who descend from Romulus and Remus, physically or culturally, hunters among sheep, wolves among sheep. Other men are like sheep to us. We are Romans. We are wolf-like. So the she-wolf passes on 3 basic qualities to the boys. The first is ambition. Wolves are not satisfied with what they've got. Wolves want more. They want new prey. They want new opportunities. They want new chances to become leaders, to excel, to succeed. They don't rest on their laurels. They are restless. They want more. It's like somebody may play for you the scene from the musical Oliver, where Oliver Twist, little boy, is growing up in a workshop, and he has the nerve to walk up after the gruel has been served and ask for more. More? You want more? Well, wolves want more. And wolfish people want more. Are you satisfied with the life that's given to you by your parents? Are you satisfied by the place that they happen to raise you? Or do you want to go after a bigger picture? Do you want to explore the world? Do you want to see the world? Do you want to decide where you're going to live? Do you want to decide what you're going to do yourself and not simply accept what has been prepared for you? Maybe you'll join the military and see the world. Maybe you'll join the merchant marine and see the world. Maybe you will go to college and learn a trade that involves world travel, like archaeology. Maybe you just will get jobs in different places. You want to live in San Francisco? God knows why. Fine. Just go to San Francisco and get a job. You want your own business? You want the most beautiful spouse you can find, a person to love? You don't settle. You don't settle for good enough. One of the lessons in life that I've observed, what is the enemy of the excellent? The concept of excellence, the practice of excellence, is to do your best every moment that you are awake. Never to put out a mediocre performance. Always to fill what you do with the best you've got. That's the pursuit of excellence. As charter students, you may have that. As dancers or athletes or artists, in any number of ways, you could pursue excellence. The enemy of excellence isn't lousiness. The enemy of doing your best isn't not working at all. The enemy of excellence is good enough. Good enough. Settling for something less than your very best that you think is good enough. It's good enough. I could do better on this assignment, but that'll do. That'll get me a B. It's good enough. I don't have to push myself that extra limit. I can go onto the field and play good enough. Good enough to get off the bench at least once or twice a game. You try that stuff with Coach Smith and see what happens. Good enough is the enemy of the excellent. Excellence is not something that other people can make you do. Neither I, nor your parents, nor anyone else can make you be excellent. The only person that can make you go the extra mile and work that extra bit of hard so that you produce something that you can really be proud of is you. Excellence always comes from within. A desire inside to do something rememberable, to do something remarkable, to do something worth doing. A wolf doesn't settle for second best. A wolf will always insist on excellence, and so will a wolfish man. Romans are wolfish men. They are like werewolves. They are wolves among sheepish men, and they always are looking for the next opportunity. They are always on the hunt. That's ambition. The second wolfish quality that is inherited from the she-wolf's milk and protection, ruthlessness. 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 A wolf doesn't let anything get in the way of what they want. If it's difficult to get what I want, I'll work hard. If somebody gets in my way, I'll make them pay. Nothing will stop me. You won't stop me. You try to stop me, and I'm going to immortalize you. You, whoever you are out in the world that is trying to stand between me and my ambition, you're going down. I will take you out. Ruthlessness is an insistence that neither mercy, nor compassion, nor fear, nor the grave size of the challenge are going to deter us from getting what we go after. Once I have picked a goal, I will pursue that goal with a ruthless dedication that will brook nothing but success. I will insist on nothing but excellence, and I will destroy or overcome every challenge that's in my way. That's ruthlessness. The wolves are like that. Predators need to be, or they don't eat. Because every mouthful a predator takes is from an animal that would rather have been alive, thank you very much. In order to kill, to survive, you need to be ruthless. You need to be ambitious. Romans and wolves are both. The third seems to be at variance. A tender love of family. All canines, including dogs, have a hierarchy. That's why if you have a dog or if you are around dogs, one of the first things they do is sniff each other's butts. I didn't invent this. God did. Why do dogs sniff each other's butts? Does anyone know? There's a reason. Not because it smells good. They sniff each other's butts. Oh, yes.
Is it to see like what they eat, their diet?
In effect, that's part of it. Yeah. Are they healthy or not? But there's something else. A dog tells who's alpha, who's beta, who's omega, based on the smell. To be an alpha, to be a leader, you exude certain pheromones. You exude a certain musk. And if you are subservient, you exude a different form of musk, a different scent. The way we are with eyesight, dogs are with nose, with scent. We are sight-oriented creatures. Why? Because according to evolutionary theory, we come from arboreal primates. We need to jump from tree to tree without falling down and having everyone laugh at us, because that way we won't breed. Dogs are not sight-oriented. For the most part, they are scent-oriented. Even dogs that hunt by sight, their sense of smell is very important to everything they do. And dogs can smell so much more effectively than we can. They have so many more scent receptors in their nose, and they have so much so much larger proportion of their brain devoted to interpreting that smell sense data. Like you have a targeting computer with your binocular vision to spot objects in three-dimensional space. Dogs have a targeting computer based on what they smell. So when they're sniffing each other's intimate areas, they are sniffing to see, are you a chief? Are you an Indian? Brave? Are you a civilian? Where do you fit on the hierarchy? Are we both warriors, in which case we've got to fight or challenge one another in some way? Because dogs will not rest unless they know who's boss and who's the assistant, who's the chief, who's the Indian. Wolves are very much like that. In every wolf pack, and every wolf clan of packs, there is an absolute hierarchy. That hierarchy is the result of many fights and many challenges where somebody backs down that happen over the lives of wolves, of beings within the pack. So the alpha is the person, the alpha male and his mate, the alpha female, are the ones that make the decisions for the pack. They are the ones that everyone else obeys. And every so often it is expected that if you're not an alpha, when the alpha comes near, you roll over on your back and you expose your vitals. To a hunter, to a predator, you're exposing your abdomen. Your abdomen has all that soft tissue. There's no rib cage protecting it. There's no hips and pelvic bone protecting it. You are basically saying, I am at your mercy, Lord. That's what wolves and dogs do. So, once you find your place in the hierarchy, alpha, beta, gamma, omega, whatever, at that point, everyone relaxes. We know our place. We don't need to worry about it anymore. We fit. Another interesting quality of wolves is, like many humans, they mate for life. Wolves do not promiscuously make love to or breed with just any other wolf of the opposite sex. Wolves mate for life. One alpha wolf that's a male picks an alpha female, and she is the only one he will mate with, and he is the only one that she will mate with. And if one of them predeceases the other, it affects the other's status and the other's life. So wolves are monogamous, they mate for life. The Romans like to think of themselves that way, but after a while, especially after they get wealthy, they're not. Okay, any questions about the Romulus-Remus story so far? So you got two twins. They survive the attempts to kill them by the usurper. They survive being thrown in the river. They survive the she-wolf. They're found by a farmer and raised. I see no questions. Okay. As they grow up, they decide they're going to start their own place. And that place is going to be on a hill. But they're identical twins. They don't know who's older. Normally, if you have an older brother and a younger brother, the older brother is the dominant one, because he knows more and he's bigger and stronger. But they're identical twins. And because of the circumstances of their childhood, there's nobody around to tell them, hey, Romulus, you were first. Hey, Remus, you were first. So, they don't know who's in charge. This is going to create an existential problem. They're also identical twins, which means physically they're about as strong as each other. Mentally, they have about the same characteristics. They've had the same life. So, as identical twins, I used to date an identical twin. They always differentiate themselves from the other person by doing certain things, but there's also great similarity between them. Romulus can't tell if he's supposed to boss Remus around or allow himself to be bossed around by Remus. And now they're going to build a new settlement, their own place. They fight and fight and fight and fight. They build some and fight some. Every day there is struggle. And then one of them comes up with the idea, we can't keep doing this. Fine, we'll build a settlement. But we're going to build it in halves. We're going to have a low stone wall that'll separate Remus land from Romulus land. And we will do this work together, but apart. We will work together on building this wall and later the settlement, but we are going to have each our own side that will be ours, that we will be chief in. Remember, wolfish qualities, they're ambitious. They're not willing to settle for being subservient unless they are forced to be. So this preserves them in equality for a while. They're both going to be landowners. They're both going to be founders. But it still rankles. And one day, Romulus has had enough. He jumps the wall, picks up a rock, and down goes Remus! Down goes Remus! Skull caved in by Romulus. That's why we don't study the Roman Empire. We study the Roman Empire. It's the city of Rome, not the city of Rheims. Because Romulus kills Remus. Romulus becomes the first legendary king of Rome. And in his old age, Romulus ascends the hilltop as a thunderstorm obscures that hilltop, and when the thunderstorm sweeps away, there's no sign of Romulus, no body, no Romulus, as if he was taken up into the heavens, which is what Romans believe. Romulus was apotheosized. He underwent apotheosis. Apotheosis is a fancy word for a mortal man is made a god. Romulus is literally taken up into heaven by the other gods in a thunderstorm, and he is going to be the founding king and god of Rome. Now compare this to another story of brothers who don't get along in the mythological times of prehistory. In the Old Testament of the Bible, Adam and Eve have children. They had two boys at first, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel also are very different people, like Romulus and Remus were. Cain, I believe, if any of you knows differently, correct me, because I almost always get this wrong, but I'm still going to take a guess. Because I haven't committed it to memory yet. I believe Cain was the farmer, and Abel was the shepherd. I think that's the case. So, every so often, it is incumbent on these men, as the children of Adam and Eve, who are in relation to God, to make a sacrifice to God, thanking God for everything they have. Abel finds his best lamb. A lamb without blemish, a lamb that is healthy, the most beautiful lamb in his flock. He brings it to the altar and slaughters it, burns that lamb, the parts of the lamb that go to God, on the altar. And because Abel gave of his best, God accepts the sacrifice. The smoke is white and fluffy and goes up into the heavens. Abel is approved of by God, and he is beloved by God because Abel does it right. He sacrifices the best and accepts for himself what's left over. Cain, on the other hand, is nobody's fool. Why on earth would you burn your best vegetables? You can replant them and make next year's vegetables better. Plus, you could eat them yourself, your best vegetables. So Cain makes of his sacrifice the runt vegetables, the misshapen vegetables. God knows what Cain did. And the smoke that comes from this burnt offering is not accepted by heaven. It's heavy, it's black, it's a greasy smoke, and it almost seeps into and gets devoured by the earth itself. Cain is not approved of by God, but his perfect brother Abel is. Oh, Abel! Abel's beloved by God. Abel doesn't have to work growing vegetables. Abel gets to walk around being a shepherd. Abel, Abel, Abel. Cain gets sick of it. And so one day he waits in ambush for Abel to walk by. And when Abel walks by, he attacks him from behind and murders him. Does he become the head of the new community? Does he become the first king of his town that is destined to rule the world? Does he get taken up into heaven in the body, apotheosized, a man born of woman become an immortal god? No! Cain is the first murderer. He is a kinslayer. He is a fratricidal kinslayer. He killed his own brother. Cain is cast out. And the myths and legends of monsters that have anything connection to Judeo-Christian ideas claim that the monsters are all descendants of Cain. When you read about Beowulf and Grendel, Grendel, the great monster that's attacking the court of King Hrothgar. Grendel and his mother have their lineage going back to Cain. Any murderer is a son of Cain. Cain's name is still accursed. What's creepy is, in my first year of college at Bates, in the fall of 1984, I bumped heads with a sophomore there. I was just a freshman, named Kane. Kane was an angry thug, and I didn't like him because he was a commie, and he didn't like me because I was a conservative. But also, I don't like bullies, and I don't like thugs, and he didn't like whatever I was or am. A few months later, Kane, who was failing out of college, shot the dean of the college, tried to kill him. The dean was on his porch doing laundry, and Kane walked up to the porch door and fired in. The dean survived. What was creepy is I was bopping around campus looking for someone. And in those days, when I opened a door, I opened it with authority. Boom. So I wanted to look in a laundry room as I was walking by on the basement floor of this dormitory. So I'm walking by, I see the laundry room door, I go, boom. And Kane is in the laundry room doing his laundry. He literally jumped up onto a dryer. He was arrested later that day. I had met him between the time that he had at least, basically before he was arrested. He was arrested the next day. So I apparently walked in on him before the cops got him as an attempted murderer. Here's a hint. Don't name your boy Cain if you are part of the Judeo-Christian thing. It's not a lucky name. What this tells us is that the Romans are very different from the Jews and Christians. The Romans admire Romulus' determination. He's a guy who gets things done. He didn't wait around to let fate decide whether he or Remus was going to be in charge. Romulus ends all doubt by caving in the skull of his brother with a rock. That's what we call a go-getter. And he's going places. So the Romans admire this fratricide. They make him their king. They make him a god. Jews, Christians, look at this murderer, this fratricide, Cain, and see him as an accursed father of monsters. So that right there should give you a foretaste of what the Roman people and their character as a society is like. And we will continue with the Aeneid. Any questions, comments, or thoughts? I see none. Thank you. Come again. You all are free to go today. Tomorrow we'll do A Day people, and Thursday we'll do B Day people staying here.